Before the greatest supervillain of all time hits the big screen in December, Marvel fans deserve a full-fledged Doctor Doom origin story. So now I want to share with you my pitch for a Doctor Doom animated series that would lead directly into Avengers Doomsday. So let's just dive right in, shall we? The Doctor Doom series will consist of 7 episodes, with its closest comparable in terms of look and feel being the Netflix anime-style series Castlevania. Episode 1, The Devil's Bargain. So we open the series with a prophecy told to a group of children that an angel will descend upon the earth and give birth to the one who will someday bring order to chaos and repair all that is broken in the world. So the main core visual here I'm relying on is the tapestry that was in the poster and the trailer for Avengers Doomsday, and we'll sort of understand why towards the end of the video. When Victor Von Doom was a small child in the Eastern European nation of Latveria, he was very poor, belonging to the Zephyro, a tribe amongst the population of Romani gypsies oppressed by the nation's ruling classes. He was often malnourished and sickly, like the other kids, but he didn't long for anything. He maintained his childlike glee and his innocence, and even made friends with the likes of Valeria. But beneath the innocence of the children lay a bitter struggle. Victor's parents, Cynthia and Werner von Doom, were some spearheading a rebellion against the king Vladimir and his barons. In one of these attempts, Werner, who was a healer, was blamed for the death of a noblewoman, and his entire tribe was marked for death as recompense. To prevent this catastrophe, Victor's mother turned to the dark arts. She strikes a bargain with the demon Mephisto to gain the power to vanquish her enemies at the cost of her own soul. Mephisto granted this request, but, as often is the case, there was a catch. Mephisto gave her the power to exact revenge, but deliberately withheld the control needed to safely manage this power. So Cynthia used this power to destroy the king's nobles, but her actions caused the deaths of countless innocents and children, and the king of Latveria, still alive, has Cynthia executed and her people hunted. Werner, Victor, and the survivors of the tribe were forced to flee. Victor grows far less innocent than he was before, less eager to play with Valeria and the other kids, in fact alienating himself. She is now his only friend, and his adoration for her turns to love, albeit a one-sided love that she doesn't reciprocate. Around the camp, Cynthia is spoken about rarely, and when she is, it is in a very negative light. Victor takes it upon himself to defend her, further isolating himself from the tribe. Victor's father, Werner, grew sick. He became too weak to deter Victor from speaking out. But he was cagey when it came to speaking about Cynthia. He did not want Victor to follow in her footsteps and seek out the dark arts. Victor here recalls exact words that his parents spoke to one another when he was still in the womb. Victor's recall and intellect had revealed themselves at an earlier age, so Werner was not that surprised. In his time alone, tending to his father, Victor was visited by a woman, a witch named Morgan Le Fay. She explains that in the future Victor will do her wrong. She intends to kill him, but instead she'll help him along his path so that he grows to know exactly why she'll punish him. But she will punish him sometime in the future. Morgan points Victor to the hidden trunk of his mother's belongings, magical artifacts and tomes used to conjure spells, and in secret, he begins learning. One of Victor's friends, who he cut ties with earlier in his grief, catches Victor in the act, and his family take the information to the king for a reward. Their reward, though, was imprisonment. Learning that the king's men are coming, the tribesmen act to drive Victor out of the camp. Werner, very weak, flees with his son into the freezing Alps. Over days, their food and means of making fire and surviving ran dry. Werner gives his son the last of the clothes on his back to keep him warm, and very soon, he freezes to death. Horrifically, his father's frozen grip clamps down on Victor, a final hug that he can't be free of, until Victor is finally rescued by a man named Boris. For the sake of this adaptation, Boris is just the father of Valeria, so she's the one that begged him to seek Victor out to save him. In the village, Victor is not allowed in. People are afraid of him and they want him gone, but Victor makes a dark declaration that if they send him away, he would return when he's older and stronger, and he would seek vengeance. Heeding the boy's warning, his people keep him safe and cover for him, concealing him when the king's men arrive, and showing them the body of Werner to prove Victor's death, satisfying the king for now. Victor, shocked by what has happened, recalls the prophecy, tying together the visual of the angel descending to his mother and her magic, and the child she birthed to his own reflection. Victor Von Doom now has a holy charge to bring order to chaos. Episode 2, The Challenge. As Victor grew, so did his abilities with magic and science, though he still had a lot to learn. To keep his tribe afloat, Victor often traveled to towns in Latveria selling trinkets to lords, like self-playing violins or a cure for headaches, but these would often stop working pretty quickly, so he gained a reputation amongst the lords as a con artist. These days he went by a different name, so none of the Latverian elite knew that he was the same child who practiced dark magic years ago. Victor is almost blind to the dark machinations of the Latverian lords. At one point, Victor uses a robotic double of himself to escape some angry fighters. What he did not see was the firing squad's attempted execution of Von Doom. This honeymoon period would inevitably sour at some point, when he is eventually caught up to and threatened at gunpoint. Victor, without magic or science, has to use his primal instincts to fight the man, and he strangles him. This is the first time Victor takes a life. The killing haunts Victor, until he realizes that he has a greater potential than petty con jobs. He could defend his people from any who sought to oppress them. More time passes and Victor has become the sole defender of his people, using brute force and blunt magic to kill the king's soldiers who tread near their camp. One of these attacks, as it turns out, is not an attack at all. It's actually a US Army general seeking Victor out for his talents. He invites him to learn and work in America. While contemplating, the darkness bleeds into Victor's personality, which drives a wedge between him and Valeria. He believes her weak. Victor again sees the visual of the prophecy, believing it to be his mother and him. He vows then and there that he will destroy Mephisto and reclaim his mother's soul. Mephisto accepts this challenge, and Victor leaves for America. Episode 3, The Rival. So Victor begins studying alternate dimensions while attending State University in New York. State University is like the least creative university name that they could have come up with, but we'll forgive it. His brash attitude and quiet research attracts the intrigue of Reed Richards, the star pupil and genius of the school. Victor usually keeps to himself here, but Reed is actually kind to him. But his childhood friend Ben Grimm doesn't get the fuss and is way more aggressive. Now in the comics, Sue Storm and Johnny Storm are a lot younger. They didn't attend State University and they only met Ben and Reed a little bit later in life. In my version, it's the same thing. They're younger, they didn't attend State University, but they already know Reed and Ben. In fact, there's already a chemistry between Reed and Sue, something that Victor only catches on to after he's begun to develop a slight crush on Sue. The darkness in Victor bubbles up the more that he dabbles into dark magic. One incident sees Victor strangling a girl after being disgusted by her flirtatious, well, in his eyes, degenerate behavior. He almost kills her, but the incident is covered up by the military who he was developing weapons for. This darkness, plus the jealousy that Victor builds towards Reed over his genius and his closeness to Sue, causes him to neglect Reed's advice when a machine that Victor's building, meant to help him speak to his mother in Mephisto's hell dimension, has slight miscalculations. So the main cause of what's to come is Victor's hubris, but he's smart enough to have safeguards to prevent a disaster. In fact, it's Mephisto who dismantles these safeguards and causes the machine to explode. The accident scars Victor's face. It's not as drastic as it may seem, but it's enough to infuriate Victor and ensure he's not seen by anybody. He sends Reed and Sue away after they visit him in the hospital, disgusted by his own appearance. Episode 4, The Devil's Mark. So at this point in the comics and Doom's backstory, there's a lot of stuff with time travel and World War II, which would be cool here, but since this is meant to bridge the gap leading up to Doomsday, and I don't really think there's going to be a lot of time travel in Doomsday and Secret Wars, we're just going to skip over that stuff. So Victor, distraught, unable to show his face, seeks out an old monk tribe in the Himalayas he believes can cure him. Along the way, Victor continues his studies while being plagued by nightmares of Mephisto torturing his mother in hell. In the mountains, Victor has a battle with a yeti who he slays and wears his coat to keep warm, but his wounds render him inert, and he passes out. Nursed back to health by the monks, Victor learns from them new forms of sorcery. And yet, despite his willingness to withstand any pain, there is nothing they can do to treat his scars or relieve his nightmares. So then Victor takes it upon himself. He forges a suit of armor and a mask to shield himself from it all, and turn himself into a being without imperfection. In fact, so eager to become this new version of himself, Victor puts on the mask before it even finishes cooling, making his scars infinitely worse and enduring the agony of his skin melting, to fully and finally become Dr. Doom. And Dr. Doom's first act is to conquer the throne that took his family and persecuted his people. I had to change to the green light now for episode 5, which is The Conquest. Dr. Doom returns to Latveria, to the place where his mother was killed, and the horrors first became unleashed. Here he speaks to Mephisto, who taunts him. Doom uses magic and his scientific genius to build an army of robots. He then returns to his Zephyro tribe and recruits them to assist in the attack, though not all of them are on board. Doom actually kills one of these men to set an example, and the rest fall in line. Dr. Doom sets siege to the castles of nearby lords, spreading the word around Latveria and building his army, all the while his former love Valeria views him as a monster. Doom's final attack on King Vladimir's castle is swift. The king's forces throw down their arms and surrender, and Vladimir is brought before Doom and executed. Finally, a piece of Doom's revenge is meted out. But now was the time. Doom gets invited to Hell and challenges Mephisto. But that's not how Mephisto operates. Instead, he wants to make a deal, just like he did with his mother. Mephisto shows Doom his mother, and the two are reunited for the first time, though she does not recognize her son. The deal that they agreed to is as follows. Once every year, Doom would be offered an opportunity to save his mother's soul in a fight with Mephisto or one of his champions. But if he fails, the people of Latveria would grow to hate him. With this deal in place, Doom simply says, "What are we waiting for?" Episode 6, The Sorcerer Supreme. With each year that passes, Dr. Doom battles different champions brought forth by Mephisto, while the demon himself sits on his hellish throne, yawning, taunting. Doom fights demons and beings of immense power, barely surviving each time. Meanwhile, his country arms itself against the world, creating uncrossable borders and flourishing under his rule. It is also during these years, researching alternate dimensions leads Doom to realize that the multiverse is rapidly dying, that universes are being deleted from existence, what us, the audience, know as incursions. One of these years, Mephisto sends forth the Spirit of Vengeance to fight Doom in Latveria. Yep, Ghost Rider. The epic bout ends with yet another stalemate, and Mephisto has grown bored of this. The next year, he says that he will offer Doom a chance to challenge the devil himself, once and for all. So during the next year, Doom tries to gain the favor back of Valeria, unsuccessfully so. His people are growing impatient with him despite their thriving in the absence of poverty or hunger. As put forth in their pact, the people's restlessness will only get worse the longer it takes for Doom to defeat Mephisto. And so around this time, the Vishanti, the trinity of godlike beings in the Marvel Universe, are deciding who will be the next Sorcerer Supreme in a trial. The one who figures out a way to free a man encased in the Vishanti's crystal would be named the Sorcerer Supreme. It's a days-long event that pits sorcerers against one another and involves magical creatures and duels, wherein Dr. Doom and Dr. Strange are the final two remaining. Before the final confrontation can take place, Morgan Le Fay, the witch who intended to kill Doom as a child, finally returns to sabotage Doom's claim to the Vishanti. But here's the twist. Dr. Doom wanted to lose to Dr. Strange, because there's a rule that the Sorcerer Supreme must offer a favor to the runner-up of the contest. So all of this, even Morgan Le Fay's interference, was all a part of Doom's plan. Which leads us to the finale, Episode 7, The Devil's Deceit. The season finale of Dr. Doom sees Doom enlist the help of Dr. Strange to defeat Mephisto, end the stalemate, and save his mother's soul. But Dr. Doom has something else in mind. It won't be their magic or combined might that defeats Mephisto, it'll be a deal. So Dr. Doom makes a deal with Mephisto to trade his mother's soul for that of the Sorcerer Supreme, for Dr. Strange's soul. Dr. Strange, obviously not on board with that plan, battles Dr. Doom and is bested. Mephisto, highly amused, agrees to the deal. But there's a hitch in the plan. Doom's mother doesn't want to return to the realm of the living. She doesn't feel she deserves it after what she's done. So after a final, emotional goodbye, Mephisto sends Cynthia to a better afterlife, one free of his torment. This cathartic ending gives Doom only partially what he wants, his mother's freedom from Mephisto, but he'll never be able to see her again. And there's also one more big twist. All of this was a sham. Dr. Doom gave Dr. Strange a device that would allow him to escape back to Earth before Mephisto could steal his soul. Dr. Doom successfully tricked Mephisto. Mephisto, at first furious, actually respects Doom and his cunning, and lets him return to Earth. And Doom returns to his Latverian population loved and celebrated. All is well here, but elsewhere in the greater multiverse, he knows that death and destruction await. The series ends with Doom once again looking upon the tapestry, charging himself to be the ideal of the prophecy, the human birthed by an angel mother, the destined protector of his country and his entire world. He is the child that will bring order to chaos, to repair all that is broken. I'd like to thank you all for watching if you got this far, and I want to know what you thought of this pitch. I tried to stick very close to the origin story from the comic books while also splicing in a few of my own ideas like the prophecy and Doom's holy crusade to save the multiverse, because I just feel that would add such an interesting philosophical dimension to Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars, especially since, he's called God Emperor Doom. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please consider liking, subscribing, and comment down below what kind of pitch you want to see from me next. This has been Jacob R. Cologne, and I'll see ya.